Next on our agenda today, we'll be hearing from Michael Gord in a fireside chat with Al Burgio, the CEO of Zytara. Michael Gord is the CEO of the GDA group of companies and has been a partner of mine for a few years. Michael was one of the earliest blockchain adopters in Canada, helped build the Canadian collegiate ecosystem, link that to the US and globally. Michael has worked firsthand on over 20 digital asset projects in their formation and taking them to market, as well as with fundraising. He has a lot of interesting insights and currently sits as well as the managing director of the XDB Foundation, which I'm sure he'll go into briefly. So Mike, I'll hand it off to you to introduce Al and chat about the future of gaming and esports.
Yeah, thanks, Zach, for the introduction. And Al, thanks for joining. Excited to have you here. So we've been working together now for the past couple of years. I'm very familiar with your story, but probably a lot of the audience is not yet. So it'd be great if we could just start with your background and if you could share, your history as a serial entrepreneur and investor and how you went from playing a leadership role in the internet revolution to the blockchain revolution, and how you got to where you're at.
Certainly. Well, thanks, Mike, for and the GDA for hosting today. It's been a pleasure, obviously, working with everyone and great to participate in the event today. My background actually in technology actually started at quite a young age, like probably many people. Pre-bubble internet was something that I got to really experience and be a part of. And back then, a lot of the big buzzwords were things like online media and e-commerce and joining the internet were kind of phrases of the day. A lot of companies, back then weren't necessarily leveraging the internet. It was all in the early stages of beginning. Fast forward to more recently. In 2011, I pioneered what's known across the internet as software-defined interconnection or interconnection 2.0 through the founding of a company that I founded called Console Connect, which through to its acquisition in 2017, we brought it to over 23 countries, and today Console is still on fire and it's in over 60 countries worldwide. Relative to the topic today, kind of the first intersect for us, or for me rather, more recently in the sphere of online gaming, was through Console and helping a lot of gaming organizations really expand globally in a lot of ways, completely bypass the public internet, leveraging our platform and directly connecting and really optimizing things towards the edge and optimizing user experience. I re-entered fintech, the fintech space in 2017, really emerged from stealth in early 18, and that really began exclusively focused on blockchain. In 2017, while in stealth, I founded the Digital Bits project and emerged in early 18. Not only with taking Digital Bits out of stealth, but launching Mainnet 1.0, I think it was March of 2018. And so it really was awesome to just see how things have evolved since then in the blockchain industry, the cryptocurrency industry, and really in how it's also intersected with the world, let alone the gaming and esports space. Fast forward, really supporting that ecosystem, and then along the way, founded a company by the name of Zytara. And in early December 2020, we took Zytara out of stealth mode. And Zytara is a fintech organization, fintech company. Initially I would say Zytara was developing a digital banking platform, but more precisely, we're developing a digital financial institution, more broadly speaking, and payment network primarily targeted towards Gen Z and millennial gamers, and the household. Our view is you get the gamer, you get the home. In a lot of ways, it's on fire. I mean, it's fascinating just to see how much gaming has evolved from the days when I was younger, when it was either an Atari or a Nintendo console, or even a Commodore 64 trying to play some form of game, loading in a cartridge, to today. It's just a fascinating online experience, a way to collaborate, a way to compete. And it is, from a viewership standpoint, in a lot of ways, has already surpassed that of many traditional sports. It's fascinating. So it's a bit about my background. Really a technologist at heart. I've had the opportunity to transcend across a number of different industries, and really, it's always a privilege to be a part of the pioneering era of things. And with what's happening in the cryptocurrency industry, it's in a lot of ways just the beginning.
Indeed, it is definitely just the beginning. So Al, I know that Digital Bits initially came to market a couple of years ago, and the initial plan to market was in 2018 was not focused on esports and gaming, and not that it is now either. But I think that it would be worthwhile for you to share how you're seeing the current intersection of esports and fintech, and why you decided to initially focus on esports as the go-to-market.
So, to back up there relative to Digital Bits, from inception, it was very much, and it continues to be, a blockchain focused on what we kind of refer to as branded currencies, branded cryptocurrencies, and inclusive of branded stable coins. And so it's very much from inception been about an enterprise go-to-market strategy, and through the enterprise, gain access to millions and millions of consumers. As we evolve, we started to see really opportunity in the esports and gaming space. There are a lot of brands trying to get in the game. Many are, and many more are trying to figure it out. It's on fire. We, going into 2019, really saw the light as that being another vector to engage with global brands, both gaming brands and non-traditional gaming traditional brands as well. And so it was really just an expansion of an overall go-to-market strategy from the perspective of, let's say, blockchain perspective. And through that, really gave birth to really a collaboration and an injection of also Zytara to participate and really leverage protocol. In terms of how we sort of see things evolving, it's really fascinating. I like to identify mass market problems, because with mass market problems, if you can kind of figure out a solution to it, it's a mass market opportunity. And with all the excitement with esports and gaming, and in particularly, with the unfortunate circumstances surrounding the pandemic of 2020, really, things started to really accelerate in a lot of ways. I think in a lot of ways ahead of schedule than most sort of anticipated, but in some ways that also exacerbated some of the problems. So one of the areas where I see fintech really playing a big role, in no particular order, esports tournaments, for example. Traditionally, I think any form of tournament is confined to a jurisdiction, which means it's confined to the local population, the local currency, and so on. And if you take something like esports, it's really in many cases, a global forum, and you have participation from people all over the world. And whether it's an esports tournament host, or game publisher that's hosting a tournament, or an esports team hosting a tournament, they're really not in the fintech business. They're not in the payments business. And to, have to deal with the friction of dispersing payments at a global scale, to put it bluntly, is an absolute pain in the ass for many organizations. And that's a real clear way and a massive opportunity for blockchain. With Zytara, we introduced ZUSD, and in many cases ZUSD is the Zytara dollar is seen as a stable coin. In a lot of ways, you can really look at it more so as a payment network, and your limitation in terms of access is connectivity to the internet. And so it could be a Sunday evening, and the need to disperse payments globally to a whole slew of users, and be able to do that in seconds. And those users don't even need a bank account. So when you start to think of things that way, and just the opportunity with a stable coin to be programmatic money and so on, instantaneously you eliminate some massive friction in just one category in the esports space. And there's really a lot of other parallels, where crypto and blockchain can play, and more broadly speaking, fintech can play a way in eliminating friction in esports.
Thanks, Al. So you mentioned the Zytara dollar, ZUSD, which I think is the first example of a enterprise creating a branded stablecoin for their corporate treasury, but also for a market niche. And that's something that we've been focusing on expanding. I'd love to hear your perspective, or I'd love for you to share your perspective on how Zytara, the value for Zytara and having a Zytara dollar, and then also for the gaming industry, which the Zytara dollar is not that it's just for gaming, but it will have significant adoption in the gaming ecosystem, which is reasonable to assume that other ecosystems will have similar stable coins to represent value within their ecosystem. I'd love to hear for you to share your perspective on how you got started with that, and how you see it progressing into other enterprises and markets.
Yeah, so specific to ZUSD, we kind of like to refer to it as money for the gaming industry and beyond. So you're correct in saying it's not limited to just the gaming use case, but we're definitely laser focused in injecting it in that across that industry, and in a number of different ways. We are in discussions with major game publishers to have ZUSD be an in-game currency. We've unveiled some partnerships with esports organizations. There's major gaming influencers, major brands, and so forth. And there's different ways they can not only leverage ZUSD, but also create their own branded currency. And in the near future, we'll be unveiling a lot of those partnerships and the respective use cases. For ZUSD specifically, we see it, to not to necessarily mischaracterize it, but also play a role of it being also, in essence, a reserve currency, and bringing functionality and utility to other branded currencies as well. And so, and what we mean in that, you can think of all the sort of use cases that we're already seeing with stablecoins and crypto in general. It's not just about it being a medium of exchange. It's, crypto lending is is on fire as well. It's exploding. And there's ways that we've roadmapped to leverage ZUSD to play a very functional role in supporting other branded currencies, to be able to give them a utility also in the crypto lending space. when you think of a stable coin as programmatic money, there's some really interesting things that you can do in terms of fan engagement that's fully programmatic. Think of automated, identity coupled with stable coin, and whether it's something as simple as a contest or something else involving fan engagement, to provide instantaneous payout and seamless experience starts to really make things get really exciting. To talk a bit about what we're doing as Zytara, though, to kind of holistically give you a perspective on how we are broadly making waves in the esports and gaming space. I think what will help is really an understanding of our go-to-market. So what we really focused on was partnering with major esports organizations, whether it's esports teams, major game influencers, and more broadly, other organizations in the more broader sports and entertainment category. So this is, think of major musical talent that, for example, also are avid gamers and very well known in the global gaming industry. An example I would touch on is, we unveiled our partnership with Dignitas. So it's a good example on how we're partnering with other organizations where we obtain intellectual property rights and alignment on co-marketing. These are typically multi-year agreements. And so we take that intellectual property and we transcend it across an entire user experience. We kind of refer to them as skins. So if you're a fan of a major influencer, a major esports organization, you could download Zytara, you toggle the UI to that look and feel of your favorite team, influencer, what have you. That transcends across to both a physical and virtual debit card, choice of different designs, and you could toggle that. You can actually carry an inventory. And one of the things we've done is decouple what I would call card art or UI from the actual product. And so that really transcends well into the NFT landscape. And when we actually unveiled ZUSD and really made it very clear that Zytara itself is quite proficient in the cryptocurrency space, it started to create a lot of fascinating inbound for us in the NFT space. A lot of esports organizations and influencers really creating inbound and want to expand their relationship and partnerships with us for it to also include NFT. So we have some exciting announcements in the near future in terms of what we're doing as an organization to really expand in building the digital financial institution of tomorrow that's not just managing in custody and cash, but it's your crypto, it's your savings, it's your stock investing, and it's your other digital assets. It could, from collectibles to other forms of NFTs and so on. What you would, I think, expect and envision a financial institution of tomorrow to represent. And so naturally, with our partnerships with some of the largest organizations in the world, in not just in the gaming space and beyond, it was natural for us to just progress with that trend when we were already engaged with many of these call it talents and organizations in this virtual world. So we're really excited in terms of how we've been able to, not only as an organization, but what we're also bringing to a protocol layer with digital bits to support really all of the above.
Amazing, super exciting. Just to go back a sec, Harish asked in the chat to clarify what's the difference between a stable coin, utility coin, and security coin is. So just to make sure that everyone in the audience is aware of the difference, a stable coin is like the Zytara dollar, which is pegged to a asset, like the US dollar or any fiat currency. It could also be pegged to gold or a commodity, but is a digital token that's represents assets that are, in the case of the Zytara dollar, are actually held in the bank, or in the case of a currency like DAI, are programmatically pegged. A utility coin is, for example, digital bits is the utility coin, or is a utility coin or a protocol that can power a host of applications. And a utility coin provides access to an audience to the network. So in the case of digital bits, holders of or enterprises that adopt digital bits technology will need to hold a number of XDB to implement the technology, as well as a small percentage or a small unit of currency is used for transactions like gas with Ethereum. But utility coins are essentially provide access to a network, or provide or allow you to receive value in a network. Bitcoin and Ethereum are also examples of utility coins. And then a security coin is a digital representation of a share or of a securitized asset like equity or like debt. So just wanted to go back for a second and make sure that everyone is familiar with that. So moving forward, Al, you mentioned some really exciting partnerships that Zytara has in place to come to market. So it'd be great to hear some of the types of organizations that you're partnering with, and the scale that you're reaching with Zytara and the Digital Biz Network.
Yeah, certainly. So, I mean, one of the obvious categories is esports organizations, esports teams. You know, we've unveiled partnerships in that category already, and there are others that we'll soon unveil. So beyond just esports organizations, and I'll focus more so from a strategic go-to-market market partnership standpoint. There's obviously, from an infrastructure standpoint, there are also a number of organizations, gaming and non-gaming, that we have partnered with. But on the more holistic sports and entertainment sphere, there's esports teams, there's tournament hosts, game publishers, and major game influencers. I mean, you have influencers, I would say entertainers that easily with 50 million plus followers per influencer, and in and themselves have developed a phenomenal brand. So those are some of the examples. There are other organizations in the esports space as well, other platforms that it's made sense for us to really focus on strategic integrations. But overall, those are some of the key areas, and then that ended up going beyond that to also include certain musical artists that really resonate with the same audience. So we're very much focused on Gen Z and millennial gamers and partnerships that really resonate with that audience, that provide either an opportunity for viral adoption, viral awareness, or value, the ability for us to deliver just more and more value to our targeted users. And so those are some of the key areas, and we're really excited about what we have in store to share in the relatively near future.
Amazing. So Harish, yes, Bitcoin and ETH are utility coins. And Al, just to go back a sec and ensure the audience is, not everyone is as caught up in digital assets. Could you talk about the benefits of stable coins for an organization like Zytara, as well as the users of Zytara? And also, I think it would be good for you to clarify the, you are here as the CEO of Zytara, but you have, a number of organizations that, that you have founded and that, are part of the ecosystem. So I think it would have value for you to talk about how stablecoins benefit Zytara and the users, and also the relationship between Zytara, the commercial organization banking platform, and Digital Bits, the protocol.
Certainly. Sorry, just give me one sec. So stable coins are one of the use cases really fascinating with stablecoin. It's in the case of a digital US dollar, it's something that lives. The ability for the US dollar to live in the digital, this form of digital world, more precisely the cryptocurrency world. It is the ability to actually take dollars today out of a traditional bank account and bring that into the cryptocurrency industry. There's a major lag with that. In many cases, it could take days or weeks. And so the ability to hold stable value in the form of the digital representation of the US dollar, i.e. a stable coin, is very powerful because it allows you to move in and out of for example, stable coin. If you have an interest in buying or selling Bitcoin, let's say on the fly, anywhere in the world, it's very easy to move a stable coin around in seconds to be able to capture opportunity and participate in opportunity. So in the more holistic cryptocurrency industry, there is a massive and growing use case for stable coins. And it's really evident by virtue, if you just simply look at the market caps of what's in circulation of Tether and USDC, some of the larger stable coins of the day, and just compare their market cap 2 months ago, let alone a year ago. It's fascinating just to see the amount of stable coins growing in circulation. And it's really a testament to the value that it brings holistically to the cryptocurrency industry. You take that and then you can apply that same sort of logic across other use cases in commerce beyond just what we're seeing in the cryptocurrency trading markets, but rather just any form of whether domestic or international commerce. The ability to be able to transmit a currency, something that is application agnostic. In other words, we don't all need to be on PayPal to be able to send money around the world. You can be on one application supporting the protocol. I could be on another application supporting the protocol. You could be a game supporting the protocol, and the ability for that common currency, that stable coin, to just be able to move anywhere in the world in seconds is very powerful. And so it's, in terms of use cases, it's the ability to, at its core, the ability to move stable value in an application agnostic way anywhere in the world.
Yes, indeed. So we've covered a lot. We've got a few minutes left. It would be great to hear when we're going to hear some more big announcements from Zytara and perhaps what the next quarters have in store.
So we've been as a company in stealth mode for quite some time. We did exit stealth in early December with an initial foray of announcements, but in a lot of ways we're just getting started as an organization. In being able to share with the world what we've been up to. In terms of announcements, I would say just stay tuned because, really twofold. We, through the course of we're literally every week engaged with just a whole slew of organizations, whether domestically or abroad, We're in considerable negotiations. We're closing some major partnerships, and then it's really around the logistics around collaborating with our partners around the right time to really share with the world. So I would tell you that April is going to be a very substantial month because we had a lot of pent up momentum that will soon be unveiling. But it's not just going to continue, or end there really. I think every month you'll be able to continue to hear some great things come out of us. You alluded to myself, having kind of multiple involvements. So yes, I am the founder and CEO of Zytara, but I continue to be a big contributor to the Digital Bits ecosystem that I founded, and both through Zytara and how we're partaking and leveraging Digital Bits. One of the things that we first shared was that with ZUSD, we are bringing it to the Digital Bits ecosystem as well. And frankly, we see that as our primary blockchain, simply because, among other things, it is really fast. It does have high throughputs, and I think more and more we continue to hear of the challenges faced with the Ethereum network with high gas fees and low TPS and so forth. So specific to Digital Bits, I mean, what I would say is it has been commonly known to primarily, if you think, again, to touch on Ethereum serves a whole slew of use cases. It's used for stable coins, for something we've touched on. There's all forms of different ERC-20s out there, smart contracts with use cases in the NFT space. But I think for the Digital Bits ecosystem, there's been a primary focus on branded currencies. Digital Bits itself is an ideal blockchain for payments, which has also been commonly known. But what is less, I guess, talked about are some of the other use cases. And I think a lot of those are going to start to come front and center literally in the coming weeks, and in a very big way. So as Digital Bits sort of has these swim lanes of use cases, there are only a few that have been widely talked about that have really great momentum, but more will be surfacing in the coming weeks relative to that protocol. And I'm really excited about that as well, in a very big way. I mean, it's quite timely.
Definitely timely. So it would be great to, there are a lot of blockchains. You mentioned Ethereum, we've talked about Digital Bits, and there are several other protocols that are, coming to market focused on arbitrary niches of the digital asset world. I wonder your thoughts on the future there, and if you see a world with many blockchains, or how you see the future of protocols.
I do see a world with many blockchains. There's a world today with various different database technologies, and there's definitely vast movement towards the utilization of blockchain technology. There's been innovation with smart contracts. There's been innovation with payments. There's obviously a lot of innovation with NFTs, and it's difficult to be all things to all people. And so really to develop an ecosystem around a series of use cases and just continue to iterate and innovate in certain particular use cases, you tend to kind of neglect. It's kind of like you create this whack-a-mole problem. You're hitting and solving a problem in one area, and then something else pops up. And so when you try to be all things to all people, and software being sort of this living animal, that's what ends up happening oftentimes. You kind of go down and you're taking a left turn and, you know, whacking away at a mole, but yet other problems get neglected and so on. So I think it's very difficult for a blockchain to be all things to all people. I mean, just simply put. And as a result of that, you know, at the end of the day, we are dealing with software. And so it is more realistic, at least for the foreseeable future, to really see a world of multiple blockchains exist, and each to kind of surface with their own sort of unique set of strengths.
I agree. I think that there will not be one solution fits all, similar to the internet. There's lots of programming languages, and companies build their products on a suite of protocols that provide different value for different pieces of the stack. With branded stablecoins and the adoption of fintech in esports, I wonder how quickly you think it's going to happen, and how Zytara is, how quickly we're gonna see it push into the mainstream.
With stable coins in gaming?
Stablecoins, as well as fintech being more penetrating in esports and solving the problems that we spoke about earlier.
So I think with many things, it's about an ecosystem, and really taking and following a strategic process to facilitating, you know, facilitating that ecosystem. You can create technology, you can create a stable coin. There are obviously a few of them out there. At the end of the day, it's really more so just technology than a product, unless you have an ecosystem leveraging it. And so the approach in fostering that ecosystem is very, very important. It needs to be, you know, oftentimes I would say highly strategic. And what I would say is one of the areas that I tend to focus on, really from the inception of even an idea, is to really nail down strategy and so forth. So we took really a phased approach in initially just focusing on a singular category of esports teams. We began that over a year ago while we were in stealth, developed some good penetration in that category, and then started to focus on other parallels from major influencers in the entertainment gaming space, other platforms, and then game publishers, and really focused around building what I would say an ecosystem around a payment network. And I see very much a stablecoin in and itself also being sort of synonymous with the payment network. You have this kind of common currency moving from one place to the next, and so on. So, you know, for specifically the esports and gaming space, it's definitely 2020 where we'll see more holistically the use and adoption of stablecoin. Obviously, we're biased to ZUSD, and that's where I have line of sight. So that's definitely front and center in a lot of partnerships that we've been securing, the integration, utilization, and engagement involving ZUSD. So for us, it's very much this year, and that momentum is just gonna continue to 2022 and beyond.
Yeah, we're definitely just getting started. So you mentioned there being a significant pipeline of brands and enterprises. So far, Zytara has publicly announced Dignitas's participation, which is significant. And Dignitas being one of the largest esports teams in the world, I can imagine that there must have been a lot of requests for participation and interest from other esports teams and other, I guess, brands that are associated with esports, or that desire to get exposure in the esports market. It would be, I think, worthwhile for you to talk about what the reaction from the market was, with Dignitas and Zytara's partnership, and Dignitas really being a running organization for the intersection of fintech and gaming.
You never know what to expect when you come out of stealth mode. I've come out of stealth mode with a few companies I've founded, and you try to put your best guess forward. But I would say for Zytara, taking Zytara to stealth mode it's been an incredible experience. Because as you kind of come out of stealth and you convey not only what you're doing as an organization, more broadly speaking, more transparently, and then start to unveil some of your partnerships. You mentioned Dignitas. The amount of inbound that starts to create, or that in this particular case has created for us, it's just been absolutely remarkable. It started in December, and the momentum has just really continued with each passing month. And it hasn't been just the esports industry. It's been across gaming, and it's been across the sports and entertainment sphere. And we were really well positioned to, not only be already engaged with a number of companies pre-stealth, but in coming out of stealth, we were really well positioned to really capitalize on opportunity that kind of came our way to be able to turn things around very quickly. Secure the right partnerships, turn around quickly, and then we focused on obviously also positioning them in the right sequence to be able to share with the world as well and unveil. And you can expect that to happen with Zytara in the relatively near future.
So Al, we've got a couple of questions from the audience. Harish is asking what your opinion is on NFTs. You mentioned them a bit, and NFTs have huge value in really for any influencer. There's been enormous. We've seen in art and music, sports and esports. There has not been huge penetration yet, but all influencers are jumping on the NFT bandwagon.
Yeah.
It'd be great to hear your perspective on NFTs, and also how NFTs might be able to, the collectible part is really the tip of the iceberg in terms of the value proposition of NFTs. How can NFTs add value to the existing consumer experience, and how can the global brands that you're working with, and Zytara as well, use NFTs to scale and to add value to their community? And are you thinking about that now?
Yeah. So NFTs, and if thinking of NFTs in the esports and gaming space, it's really a natural fit. There's a number of applications and use cases for NFT technology. We take certain things like baseball cards and so forth back in the day. It's still very much a thing today in a very hot category that just sort of continues on, to having a digital playing card, represented by an NFT it's just a natural use case, and something that will be very broadly a thing across esports and gaming space. That being said, it is it involves the use of blockchain, and so we're very much a blockchain centric organization, and well positioned to support organizations, be it esports teams or otherwise, to be able to embrace and leverage NFTs. We're in those discussions, we're in those negotiations. It's just, it was natural for us to evolve into those discussions, with the partners we already have. And so, to answer your question, it is a natural fit. in a lot of what we're seeing, a lot of the momentum in NFTs. I mean, what I think is kind of cool is, and again, I'll use a hockey card or baseball card analogy. The first of anything, you know, we would typically refer to them as a rookie card. They tend to be the most valuable. And so this phase that we're in with the emergence of NFT drops by, you know, whether it's major celebrities, major artists, again, you know, you'll see major gamers and beyond. You know, the first drops, you know, tend, in my view, they should be the most valuable. I mean, it sort of correlates to being a rookie card in a sense, someone's first NFT, whether they're an athlete or not. And so you kind of evolve in history, and so I think a lot of the momentum is in some respects appropriate, given that this is you know, a new and emerging category. I mean, we've talked, many of us have maybe talked about NFTs for some time now over the past few years, but it's actually happening in a very big way, and it's exciting to really watch and observe it.
Definitely. So something I'm really excited about with NFTs, just to add. So the collectible component of NFTs is just the tip of the iceberg. The true value is in the digital ownership of a non-fungible asset, and what unique experiences and access that digital ownership might provide. And in addition, an NFT kind of becomes a creator's or an NFT by default becomes a way for a creator to continue to engage with their audience of fans over time. And similar to MailChimp, it's kind of like a way to communicate over the blockchain to your audience rather than through email. And blockchain is just an iteration of email. But a really cool thing about NFTs is, for the earliest adopters of a creator's NFTs, in theory, that creator, similar to if you sign up to a MailChimp or you sign up to an email newsletter and you can get communication, in theory, a creator could, over time, send priceless value to their early connectors through NFTs, which is quite exciting.
Yeah, there's a lot of residual value. There's no question. And that's really a vector. I kind of like to refer to that as like the fourth dimension, right? We've lived in a lot of ways, this three-dimensional world. And now you take blockchain, you create this other innovation that occurs, such as NFTs. And now you have a fourth dimension that just wasn't possible before. And so the ability for not to just put an NFT into someone's hand, but then to programmatically create residual opportunity in a number of different ways, one of which you've just sort of described, is absolutely fascinating. And I think we've identified some ways, but I think it's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, it's remarkable. And I think that's why, in terms of what we're seeing with NFTs right now, I mean, we're only it's only getting started. I mean, innovation doesn't happen overnight in order to bring it to market and really then see a market of consumers just embrace it and amazing things happen. So this is, I think, what we're seeing right now is a glimpse into something remarkable in terms of what we have in store with the future.
Definitely. So Al, we're getting some questions about the commercial adoption of XDB. Let me just touch on that real quick. So right now we are finishing up the Sputnik era of the Digital Bits roadmap. The Sputnik era is the ecosystem build-outs, is setting us up to be in a position for the next phase, the Luna phase, which is our commercialization phase, which starts at the end of this quarter, we are completing the Sputnik era, and we are entering the Luna commercialization era, which is very exciting for us at the XDB Foundation and Digital Bits ecosystem. But Al, it would be I think so. We got another question about the XDB lockup system that I think might be worthwhile to discuss quickly. Just for context, the go-to-market for digital bits is quite different from the go-to-market for Ethereum, in the sense that Ethereum has quite complicated architecture for someone that does not have cryptocurrency experience. There's a lot of learned behavior, like signing up for a wallet, understanding gas, that is not particularly user-friendly. On the other hand, Digital Bits is focused on integrating directly into the consumer experience in a seamless experience, so there is no additional learned behavior. Al, could you elaborate on how Digital Bits is and you know, with Zytara is positioning to make it simple for enterprises like Zytara to build on the Digital Bits blockchain in a much more user-friendly way than Ethereum?
So, I mean, in some respects, Digital Bits itself is an infrastructure protocol like Ethereum in a sense. And so, you know, and by way of comparison, you know, Zytara, both as an organization and as a platform, is really an application layer, right? Where we take advantage and leverage protocols. So one of the things that you know, Zytara is playing a role in is serving as that abstraction layer, eliminating and enabling frictionless use of blockchain technology, you know, more specifically Digital Bits. Where it becomes a problem from an infrastructure protocol layer is when you have, among, you know, simply put, slowness, because that becomes then evident, even though you're trying to do your best to abstract away what is a private key, you know, some of these, you know, terms that maybe people for the first time hearing about a cryptocurrency start to look at you a bit cross-eyed. Yeah, applications can only do so much if there's issues at a protocol layer. So you will feel slowness at an application layer. You will feel the pain of a high gas fee, high prices at an application from a user experience standpoint. So it's very important that both application layer and infrastructure layer are a good fit. And, you know, one of the things, obviously we're biased, but with Digital Bits, it provides for, you know, real-time and high throughput and low cost. And so for us as a digital financial institution, Zytara, you know, one of the things that you'll never want to really do is, you know, I like to use the example, you're not going to buy a $5 coffee and pay, you know, $10 in transaction fees or gas fees, right? And have an unpredictable experience of minutes, many minutes before a transaction can process. So having high throughput and low cost is fundamentally important. So at its core, that's one of the benefits of the Digital Bits blockchain. It allows for applications to be built on it and enable frictionless user experiences as a result of its you know, ability to be low cost and fast.
Amazing. So thanks, Al, for participating. We have one more minute. If there's anything else that you'd like to share with the audience now.
No, I just want to again, you know, thank everybody at you know, GDA for hosting this virtual event. Again, thanks for allowing me to participate. It's always a pleasure. So thanks for the time, Mike.